There's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
I'm Kristof from Dawn of Ashes, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to welcome back Kristof Bathory of Dawn of Ashes. Dawn of Ashes will release Scars of the Broken March 18th via Artoffact Records. Also, you want to check out current singles EMDR, The Despondent Hole, and Scars of the Broken. And Kristof, man, how you doing? And welcome back to the podcast. I'm glad you guys have another freaking album coming out, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So how you been doing through all this pandemic? Anything different that you were working on, or just strictly music, or what's all been going on?
I mean, it's been, for me, strictly just on the go when it comes to music. I've been working on this album for about 2 years. I have another project that's coming out, so I'm releasing a dark ambient album in May. So I have two albums coming out. So it's been just chaotic. To be honest, it's been just, even though the pandemic's been going on, I've just been consistently busy.
I quote, now this is what you've said: Scars of the Broken has been one of the most emotionally difficult albums that I have ever created. I poured out every darkest and deepest emotion into every song. Has this album allowed you to let go, or maybe move forward with mental health and things like that people go through? Has this allowed you to just set free and be okay to help other people with this?
I mean, these are all topics that I've been through the course of, many, many years. Each song is about an event that actually happened or something that I've done. So it's definitely something that still is going to stay with me, but it was definitely a source of inspiration for this album. But there was a point, I think, where I decided that I needed to write this album, that I kind of went down a hole, and I was kind of struggling a little bit. And I was writing the music at the time, but I feel like I finally got all the inspiration and the vibes for the album during that time that I kind of went down that downward spiral. And it kind of helped me, pulled me kind of out of it. And it was just kind of a difficult time. But so I feel like this album is it's raw, it's real, it's something that others can relate to. And it was very difficult for me to write.
At points, did you have to take a step back and go, "Oh, wait, hold up a second, I gotta take a break on this"? And then when you came back, did it just flow even better? If that makes sense?
No, I feel like it was more when I was listening to the material, listening to the songs and the lyrical content. It was just fuck, it was sometimes kind of hard to listen to some of the songs, and still certain songs. It just kind of hit me really hard. I didn't stop. I kept going, but it was just fuck, I don't even know how to explain it exactly, but it was interesting.
What made EMDR the first track released off the album? What was specifically made that song the first one to be released?
So not only was this the first single, we're shooting a music video for that particular song actually next Sunday. So when I wrote the track, the whole music video idea kind of came out when I wrote the track. And I listened and I was just like, man, this fucking song is just, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's just nasty sounding. And I feel like it just really, it captures the whole vibe of what EMDR actually really is. And I actually went through EMDR. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like a hypnotic sort of therapy for trauma victims, people that have been through like post-traumatic stress disorder, or who have post-traumatic stress disorder, and who've gone through traumatic events. And it's intense stuff. So I don't know, when I wrote the song and I was listening to it, all of a sudden this whole like music video content started coming into my head. And I was just like, man, this is the single. This song is just, it's just fucking heavy. It's like, and you know, I asked other members of DOA and they're like, yeah, definitely this should be the first song.
Man, I give you a lot of respect on this, because I know a lot of people, they just keep it down inside and they don't let their emotions show that much about what they go through. But for someone, and you're not the only one, and you've said this, there's many people that deal with this shit out there. You know, for people to come through and talk about this, man, that's a huge step, you know, and then I give you nothing but respect from everybody who comes out and attests to this, you know, because that makes it a lot better, in my opinion, in my world, you know, because it's like the more you talk about it, the better things are, I think. But that's just me personally. I think, you know, like I said, I respect you for doing it.
I think the other reason why I did this is over the years, I've heard fans say, you know, this particular album, this particular song, you know, saved me, it helped me. You know, and I can tell, you know, there's fans that, you know, look up to me, and, you know, I wanted this album to show them that, you know, I go through it too, you know. Here's the music, listen to it, you know, you're not alone. And, you know, hopefully this album will help others. And yeah, you know, there's this whole like psychological part, and I there's this whole theme to the album too. I kind of got this whole like emotional Dante's Inferno, because there's actually, if you actually look at the back of the album, there's like, it starts out in the descending, and then it goes to limbo, and then it goes to ascending. So it's basically like Dante's Inferno. You go down in the depths, you hit purgatory, and then you go to whatever paradise or whatever. So my whole concept is like the descending is kind of going down the hole that I was telling you. I've actually hit a point where I felt numb, where I didn't feel anything. I had like dead emotions. And then I kind of came out of it, and I got to a point where I was just like, you know, kind of like stable. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, perfect.
But I feel like there's like 3 stages in this, and it has this whole like Dante's Inferno sort of element to it.
This was going to be my last question, but since you brought it up, what if somebody takes a grasp of this album and makes it their own inspirational drive, man? What if they latch onto this and they turn it into their own fight songs? You know what I mean? Like not giving up and having inspiration. What would you say to those folks?
I mean, let's take it from you know, the younger generation, you know, kids in high school. You know, I mean, some of these kids in certain areas don't have anybody to go to. Right. So the only thing they can really go to is music. So, I mean, if music's going to help them through whatever they're going through, then I guess, you know, it worked.
For you, how excited are you to release this album? And are you a little nervous putting this out there, possibly?
I don't, you know, I haven't really thought about it yet. You know, I guess we'll see once it comes out.
You said these songs, you've been working on them for quite some time. how difficult was it to set on these songs and not be able to release it since we're in was going through the pandemic and everything? How difficult was it to set on these? Did you want to get these out, or just take your time on them, or just finally happy to get these out and abroad to people?
Well, we were going to release it a year prior to it was actually going to come out, and I said, nope, I don't want to release it. I told the record label, I was like, no, I don't want to release it. I want another year to write this album. I made an announcement that it's not coming out whatever year that was. And I took my time to perfect, every single song. I didn't want, because to me, there's certain albums where there's just songs where they're just like,
yeah,
that song's not as good as this one. I wanted to kind of sit down and make sure that every song was exactly the way I wanted it to be, because I felt like with the lyrical content that I needed to be kind of a perfectionist about it. So I just was really patient with this one.
Have you seen that albums that has been released during this pandemic, that there's been more time spent on these albums, if that makes sense? You kind of hear like it's not been rushed, if that makes sense, possibly. Have you heard anything that you've liked tremendously that's came out during this pandemic?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not really up to speed with a lot of the new music that comes out. I'm kind of still stuck with the same stuff I've been listening to, or stuff that I listened to from like the 90s and 80s and stuff like that. There was a couple. I mean, I like Ghost May and Scarlord and that type of stuff. And there's a couple like deathcore bands that released some stuff that I liked. But I kind of listen to the same shit that I've always been listening. I mean, I've been like, during the pandemic, I think even like one of my musical inspirations on this album, I was listening to a lot of Depeche Mode.
Oh, old school.
Right.
Nothing wrong with 80s music, man. Nothing.
Yeah.
At all.
It really inspired me somehow on this album. I know others would be like, huh? But
yeah. A buddy of mine yesterday during my live podcast, we were talking about 80s ballad songs. Like every band had to have one. We just go through and naming them off. Like, I was like, yeah, every band in the 80s had to have a ballad. Every single one.
Someone actually said that about the Despondent Hole. They're like, it has this like ballad sound and this like during the chorus. I'm like, well, that's probably where I got the whole Depeche Mode and everything. It's just, they had like those like 80s pop structures.
And there is nothing wrong with, doing that at all whatsoever, because that's what we grew up on, man.
Right.
That's part of our DNA, as I should say. It's music wise, So nothing wrong with that at all whatsoever. Forget you all who say anything bad about that.
I can give a fuck, I like what I like. I don't know. My music taste has just been very all over the place lately. I mean, I used to just be like, death metal and black metal, and now I'm like fucking listening to Elvis and
nice.
Just most random shit. It's probably me getting older. I get to a point where you're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna listen to whatever I like.
Any tracks, Kristof, that did not make this album we could see on an upcoming album or another EP down the road, possibly?
No, every song made it. We did have, there's kind of almost like intermission track. It's like a really short song.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually the beginning of a song, but we cut out the actual song and made this intro part an actual track. And so the remainder of that track didn't make it, but I'm okay with that.
Any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on the album? I know these are your babies. I know these mean, different things to you per track, but do you have one possibly that sticks out the most for you? Maybe.
Well, I mean, the Despondent Hole is definitely my favorite track. on the album. But there's songs like Bane of Your Existence. The lyrical content kind of means a lot to me because of a certain situation that was going on in my life. It was a very hard point in my life. So that song kind of, the lyrical content really gets to me. But I mean, I think each song has its own meaning to it. I mean, really, really strong meaning to it. So I can't really say which one is has more meaning to me than the other. Yeah.
Any song that was brought to the table changed. It took took a 360-degree change than what it was actually brought to the table with. That changed a lot. Possibly, was there any song that went through that development? Maybe
The Despondent Hole. It actually was a completely different song, and we were in the studio writing it, and man, I was just like, this is garbage. This is just like, I fucking can't stand it. It even had like a different name too. I think it was that track. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was actually Bane of Your Existence. It was definitely that track. It was Bane of Your Existence. It was a completely different track, and we were just like, I was just like, I can't stand this. So I had to go back in the studio, and I'm like, listen, I want to rework this whole thing. And it just came out way, way better. Whatever it was before was just garbage.
What would you like to add to Dawn of Ashes music that no one would ever think that you guys would add to a song? Like anything, man. What do you want to add specifically, maybe down the road on a track or an album? Just that, like out of left field, maybe that you want to try.
Well, we almost did this on the album. So I don't remember which track it was, but we were our live guitarist Angel. He does like dark trap stuff. So we were gonna actually have like that whole like Ghost Main vibe on one of the tracks, because I just thought it'd be different. People would be like, "What the fuck?" But we never did it. But I would totally do it. But in our own sort of way.
There you go. Collab with Ghost Main. I'm sure he'll be
awesome. I would love to.
There you go. Ghost Main. He's ready to go. Let's go. What's the growth musically you've seen from this band or yourself working on this album, if anything, man? Have you seen anything that's, brought this band out more maybe, or yourself possibly?
I think with this album, the whole, like what we've been trying to achieve for so many years. I mean, we started out as a dark electro, agrotech, whatever the hell you want to call it. And then we did this whole like completely merged to extreme metal thing. And then we kind of brought back the whole dark electro thing. And when I first started Dawn of Ashes, I wanted to do like a industrial black metal sort of band. And like, I remember people were like saying, Dawn of Ashes sounds like a black metal band. So I remember someone saying that to me. And I feel like right now, the maturity of the sound has really come out with this album. I feel like, this is my opinion, I feel like it has a very unique sound that not a lot of bands have done. It's something different.
It's so crazy that, I've interviewed many bands, and I'm talking about bands that's been around 15, 20 plus years. And they all say that they felt like the maturity of the band didn't have to like maybe 10 or 11, 12 albums in the cycle. And I'm like, geez, that's crazy to think that, that you don't musically grow or hit your stride till like 10, 11 albums into your catalog. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of experimenting with Dawn of Ashes. Like I've been in, prior to Dawn of Ashes, I mean, this was in the 90s. I was in metal and hardcore bands, and I missed that whole like live band feeling. And so I wanted to bring that back in Dawn of Ashes. Like, just kind of did it wrong at the time, where we just kind of just completely changed and went metal, which was just such a shitty move on it was, my fault. But where was I going with this? So basically, I mean, there's a lot of experimenting, and I just wanted to see if we can actually pull it off, doing the whole metal thing. And we ended up doing it. And now we kind of reached into the pot and grabbed everything out of it, out of everything that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have this sound, and I feel like finally I'm like comfortable with the sound of Dawn of Ashes. It's taken, I mean, it's 21 years this year that we've been an established group, and it was just all over the place for a while. And finally I feel like this is our sound.
That's awesome. I like it, man. I like these 3 tracks off this new album. I really mean that. I'm honestly telling you guys honest truth. I like these 3 tracks off this album. It's a different growth from the previous album because, like I told you, I interviewed you before. Got to listen to that album too, and there's a change. There's a transition from that album to this album for sure. And it's good in a good way. Nothing negative at all whatsoever, in my opinion. I like how this band is going toward the metal way and growing what you guys are doing. So kudos for you all on that for sure. Because a lot of bands, they don't want to change, man. They're stuck in that one spot and nope, not doing it.
I think that's the thing. We've consistently changed.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think we're like at a stable point where we're like, okay, this is our sound. And I just wish we kind of, figured that out many years ago.
Takes time, man. It takes time.
Oh yeah.
So was this album produced in-house, or did you have somebody actually produce this album for you guys?
Well, I mean, I'm a producer. Our live guitarist Angel, he's a producer. So, I wrote all the music. He wrote the guitars. I kind of dictated how the guitars were going to be. And he mixed and mastered the album. I was kind of part of the mixing because I don't really like mixing Dawn of Ashes stuff. I mix other stuff, but I just don't want to touch the Dawn of Ashes stuff. So I have someone else do it. But it came out. It came out, pretty well. I mean, we've worked with big time producers that I didn't like the mixing at all. So I feel like once I'm like sitting right next to whoever's mixing the album, it comes out the way I want it to sound.
Do you think it's harder now to be a unsigned band or up and coming band to be discovered now since the pandemic, or do you think it's like easier now? Because there's a lot of music out there, man. It's oversaturated sometimes, but do you think it's harder now or no?
I don't think it even has anything to do with the pandemic. I just think we're in an era where the music industry is extremely difficult. I mean, it's difficult for a band on where we're at, and then even bigger bands. I hear stories from even bigger bands how difficult it is right now. So, I mean, for an unsigned band, I mean, yeah, it's like the only way you can really get discovered right now is if you make some stupid video on TikTok, it seems like.
Yeah. And everybody's telling me you need to do TikTok. And I'm like, no, I can't bring myself to do it, man.
I'm with you.
I just can't do it. I mean, yeah, some of the videos are funny and things like that, but I just cannot bring myself to say, I just can't do it. I can't.
Yeah, I just don't really understand how things are now. So I feel bad for bands starting out right now in this time because, I can't imagine how difficult it is. But, they have that spark and that fire that makes them go on. And, you kind of have to have that. So.
What's your thoughts on touring and getting back on the road, man?
Like for us getting back on the road?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're going back on tour in July. I know we're going overseas in June. So I don't know. I miss it. I miss playing live.
Do you still have a go-to album or a song that you find yourself going back to and listening to from time to time? You just cannot kick it out, man. You've got to go back and listen to it at least once a week, twice a week, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, there's a few I listen to. And can't really pinpoint exactly a song, but there's definitely a few.
For you, Kristof, what inspired you to start playing and making music, man? What was it that said, yeah, I definitely want to try this and give us a shot?
Well, when I was younger, I was kind of surrounded by music my whole life. But I guess one memory I can think of is getting White Zombie Astro Creep 2000.
Oh,
and I remember listening to that album under headphones, and I would just like picture myself on stage as a front man. And I would get this like feeling in me when I would do it, like this like rush, this sort of energy. And every time I would do it under headphones, I'd get this feeling, and I was just like, it was like almost like a high. And I was just like, I remember because prior to that, I wanted to be a horror special effects artist. So that's why I kind of brought that into what I'm doing now. But that feeling, I wanted to do it. I wanted to get that feeling. And
yeah.
I wanted the feeling of being on stage, and I started going to shows. I was going to like punk and hardcore shows. And you'd see all the interaction between the band and the fans, just the energy. And I was just like, fuck, this is what I want to do, And I've seen a lot of bands that don't really interact with the fans. There's no energy, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'm like, that's what for me on stage, that's how I get my high. I get my high off of like just the immense energy when you're on stage.
See, man, I've seen the opposite. I've seen where the band is absolutely giving just giving it on stage, and they're trying to get the fans into it, and the crowd's just like, eh. And I'm going, this is insane. What's your guys' problem? It's like, good God, this band comes through maybe once 5-10 years, and there's I don't get that. But I mean, that's your money. If that's what you want to do, that's fine with me. If the band's going to give it, I'm going to give it back to them. I like
sometimes you just gotta go an extra step. And I feel like I do that on stage, not to stroke my ego, but I feel like there's certain things where I kind of just take a further step than trying to like wake them up. I fucking will spit blood in their face, and, just do shit that will like, I cannot stand people that just sit there and just like, so yeah. I'll go off the stage and get in the crowd and just to start something.
Everybody, please get out and pick up Dawn of Ash's new album, Scars of the Broken, which will be released March 18th via Artoffact Records. You definitely want to check this band out, and please give them a shot. I know for a fact you'll like one of their songs for sure. Kristof, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy some merchandise, this album, tour dates, and all this gets back together? How can they do that, my friend?
I mean, we're basically on anything. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have an official Bandcamp that has all of our merch. You can buy the CDs. I mean, we're on every digital platform. I'm sure we're in some retail stores. Honestly, you just Google search Dawn of Ashes and we'll show up.
Google is your friend, folks. And if you have Facebook is kind of your friend too, because it's got it on there.
Hopefully you can see our shit when you're on Facebook.
That's true. Yeah, they've been cracking down on a lot of stuff, crazy stuff lately. But right. Anyway, before I let you go, would you care to do another promo for my show, sir?
Sure. I'm Kristof from Dawn of Ashes, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link. And please subscribe to our YouTube link, because I would really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys and gals who support me. Also, please check out my friend here, Kristof, and his band Dawn of Ashes. Get out and check out their new Scars of the Broken that's going to be released on March 18th via Artoffact Records. Grab this album. Please go back and check out their old stuff too. You won't be disappointed. I know for a fact that you guys and gals will like this band. So, Kristof, my man, you always have support on here, and I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck as always, my friend.
All right. Appreciate it.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.